Clearly, the WWE has a serious booking problem, and it needs fixing real quick. We are going to look at the current biggest issues the WWE is facing right now. Triple H's new era in WWE is a lie. Man, he has to stop with this new era thing. He also has completely failed the vision. It's a serious Triple H problem. Triple H has claimed numerous times over the last 6 months that WWE is in the midst of a new era. That's usually a statement he makes before or after a PLE or episode of Raw or SmackDown. While a surprise will happen here or there, the booking decisions made over the last 3 years are along the lines of what Vince McMahon did while he presided over creative for nearly 40 years. The game can claim things are changing, have changed, or will change, but the next 5 reasons show that there's more evidence against WWE being in a new era. Promoting new names from NXT has happened for 10 years. If bringing stars up from NXT was new to the main roster last year, then claims of a new era would be somewhat accurate. However, NXT performers have been promoted to the main roster for over a decade. At least 3 or 4 stars join Raw and SmackDown each year. While that does put new faces in front of the WWE universe, they aren't all treated equally. Some do better than in NXT, while others are booked poorly. If several of these names were pushed to the top in both the men's and women's divisions, it would hold water. It's only truly happened in the women's division with names like Tiffany Stratton and Stephanie Baker. A divisive new era of how to stream WWE content. WWE is technically in a new era in terms of the streaming home for content. Switching to Netflix and then ESPN for PLES has been a financial move and not one beneficial to fans. Fans with the service have to pay an additional fee for ESPN Plus to get PLEs. Those who already had Peacock instantly had access to live events. The switch forces fans to spend more money to continue watching average PLEs. If they don't want to pay extra, some fans just don't watch live events anymore. In a time where prices across the USA and other parts of the world are only going up, the switch is another way fans are hit hard. Certain stars are still booked worse than their contemporaries. If booking strategies were different, then stars like Alexa Bliss, Asuka, LA Knight, and Finn Balor would be booked similarly to their main event contemporaries. Balor held the Universal title for a day and never captured major gold again. The same is true for AJ Styles, who hadn't held a top title since 2018. Alexa Bliss is extremely popular, but always booked below Charlotte Flair. She eats the pin whenever the duo loses. Bliss also had substantially shorter runs in the last 2 Rumbles, despite parallel stories with the Queen. WWE officials refused to put a major title around Knight. If these instances changed and popular stars were booked nearly as well as the usual suspects, it would be a new era. Repetitive booking and outcomes. WWE bookers surprise the fans every once in a while. Constant title changes in NXT in 2025 were mainly done for shock value rather than building credibility. Fans knew Cody Rhodes was going face John Cena at SummerSlam. Had Knight, Sami Zayn, or even Braun Breaker defeated Cena, then WWE would have another viable main event star instead of going to the same well every time. Triple H could have easily chosen any of those 3 stars to win the Royal Rumble instead of Roman Reigns. The same names atop WWE's main event scene. The fact that Reigns will be main eventing his 11th WrestleMania is proof against WWE being in a new era. His 4-year title run was overkill, but he still closed the show on 3 of the 4 nights since losing the undisputed title. Whether in character or not, he mocked that notion ahead of the Rumble. Flair won a 2nd Rumble last year and had the Iron Woman honor this year. Rhodes, John Cena, and Drew McIntyre are the only undisputed champions after Reigns. The real sign of a new era under Triple H would be maintaining more than one new face in the main event scene instead of a one-and-done instance. If the experiment doesn't work, like with Jey Uso, then one shot is fine. But outside of Gunther, few stars have truly had a lasting impact in the main event while Reigns and Rhodes are still active. WWE has completely failed the Vision. The Vision has been one of the top acts in WWE since its inception. However, the group hasn't clicked as well with the crowd as the company might have expected. Moreover, the booking has been questionable as well, with its members seemingly receiving a start-stop treatment from the creative team. In short, Triple H has completely failed the Vision. But why do we say this? The Vision's chemistry. When the Vision started with Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, and Paul Heyman, fans were excited to see what the faction would do. It seemed like a fresh direction that would lead to exciting storylines. However, it didn't turn out to be the case. While the group has some of the best talent in the company, they seemingly lack chemistry as a unit. Moreover, the faction has seen major changes lately, with Rollins' removal and Logan Paul and Austin Theory's additions. Fans have been critical of the faction's chemistry and often label it as a failed experiment. This shows that WWE has failed the heel stable. Austin Theory was naturally getting over as a babyface. Before being sidelined with an injury, Austin Theory had gathered massive support from fans, despite being a heel. The WWE Universe was ready to see the young star turn babyface upon his return and start a fresh run. However, he remained a villain upon his comeback and joined the Vision. The company missed out on a potential babyface run for Theory that could have elevated him to the next level. Bronson Reed beat Roman Reigns without any payoff. Defeating Roman Reigns on a premium live event would put anyone in the main event scene. However, it wasn't the case with Bronson Reed. The Auszilla scored the biggest win of his career thus far when he pinned the OTC in an Australian street fight at Crown Jewel Perth. However, there was no follow-up to this, and Reed didn't have a proper direction afterward. The powerhouse has been living in Breaker's shadow in the Vision and hasn't been given the same priority as the dog of WWE, Braun Breaker's setbacks. Braun Breaker has been the primary focus of the Vision since the group's inception. He is being positioned as the future of the company, and it was supposed to be his time to shine after he turned on Seth Rollins. However, the creative team held off Breaker's title shot, and when he did challenge CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship, he failed. He was also eliminated from the Men's Royal Rumble match in 10 seconds. The dog of WWE has lost a lot of steam lately, which is another reason why the company has failed the heel stable. The Triple H problem. With the 2026 Royal Rumble in the books, WWE opted to put Roman Reigns in another main event at WrestleMania. It will mark his 11th such honor, something unheard of in a day with a deep roster. The Tribal Chief is still one of the biggest stars in the industry, and WrestleMania is the biggest show of the year. The decision was still polarizing and actually exposed a huge issue the company has dealt with for years. Since there are many main event caliber names up and down the men's roster, Triple H must invest in making some different stars major champions in 2026. The backbone is falling. Both were among the most popular stars in wrestling. Rey Mysterio, Brock Lesnar, and Randy Orton may retire in the next 2 years. Had Triple H given main event spots at WrestleMania to others like LA Knight, Sami Zayn, and Braun Breaker, WWE would have helped offset some of those losses. Instead, they've all fallen short to prop up the same few names who have already dominated the main event scene at the biggest show of the year. Seth Rollins is valuable and always injured. It can be argued that Seth Rollins is one of the most important stars in WWE, even more so than Reigns. He can easily shift between heel and face and has reinvented himself numerous times throughout his career. His in-ring game is among the best in the business, and in 2025 alone, he was involved in 3 of the most important moments: bringing Paul Heyman to his side, faking his injury to cash in, and getting kicked out of the Vision were among the most pivotal moments of the year. The problem was that despite his uncanny ability, he's now been injured twice while champion. If more viable names had been built up instead of always losing, then bookers wouldn't have to always resort to the same few names. Experiments have mostly failed. Damian Priest and Jey Uso won the World Heavyweight title but didn't exactly set the world on fire. Gunther may not be for everyone, but his character is unique and easy to hate. Solo Sikoa almost reached the top of WWE, but was always booked to lose to Rhodes and Reigns. Sami Zayn keeps losing. LA Knight is incredibly over but always booked to lose. The losses wouldn't be as much of an issue had Triple H pulled the trigger with more than one person per year. Knight, Breaker, or another name could have defeated Cena at SummerSlam, helping to stem the big losses later in the year. It bolsters the names that can carry a brand. The saying, "Variety is the spice of life," applies to many things. Having more options to eat, watch, listen to, or root for helps stem the tide rather than heavily investing in only one thing. Crowning a few different popular stars as major champions widens the field of credible main event stars. If they never get a chance atop a brand, how will they know if someone like LA Knight can carry a brand? His promos are great. He performs in the ring, and the fans love him. If he was bland in promos and sloppy in the ring, excluding him would make sense. However, he excels everywhere. The same goes with Sami Zayn. Had WWE followed suit with Knight or Zayn on SmackDown when they did with Jey Uso on Raw, then the losses of Styles, Cena, and potentially other big names would be easier to withstand. The part-time issue. The part-time star became a staple in WWE when Brock Lesnar targeted John Cena in his 2012 return. He showed up a few times a year and won numerous titles. Having only one major title made things worse. Reigns has taken up that spot lately and already had a 4-year run as champion. Once is fine, especially if the cupboard is barren. Again, the problem was that there was only one major title in WWE at the time. He is one of the biggest draws, but it diminishes the work other top stars do throughout the year. Part-timers are a necessity and can be used effectively. Cena transitioned to part-time work and put over Solo Sikoa and others in his final years. Roman and Brock should be doing that for Braun Breaker, Gunther, Obafemi, and others to help build those stars for the coming years.